Hi. Welcome back to a crowded table video. And before we start, drawing, I would like to announce a few things. We are currently halfway through my five video threshold. Um, because after doing all of this, I want to take a minor break, and I want to learn how to edit, and I want to learn how to make shorts to make sure that that you know I could actually do something worthwhile with my drawing skills here a bit. And um and there there's just happened to be another reason why I decided to take a break. Um we're getting close to the Eid al-Adha holiday season, and I needed to take a break from a lot of things, and that also includes making drawing videos. So yeah, I won't be around for the next 2 weeks. You know, actually after I finish the other two drawings. Um, so without further ado, here we go. So for the first time in a long while, am I am not drawing Gillian Anderson, but I am drawing another kind of Gillian, and her name is Gillian Gilbert. Um, 80s music fans might know her as the keyboardist in this band called New Order, but I know her as this deeply interesting woman who had such a sly sense of humor. I can't help but to loving this lady. She is one hell of a woman. I don't think we'll meet a woman quite like Gillian Gilbert in maybe 1,000 years. What a lady! What a lady! So as we go ahead and try and finish this drawing, I want to also tell you a little story about how I became kind of like this existentialist, also known as that one time where job interview turned me to an existentialist. And I can assure you, the way the story played out is not going to be what you think it might be. So buckle up. I'll try to make it interesting, but it's just something that I just find really interesting that happened to me, and I like to think that it had a pretty profound psychological impact on me. So yeah, I'm not gonna go full on. Oh man, this is such a traumatic thing. It's just that okay, this is the first time that I genuinely felt like okay, the world is scary. The world is just scary. Right. So a little bit of a background. This occurred in 2016, late 2016, and we are in the final two semesters of my diploma studies. Now, in order for us to graduate from our diplomas, we had to go through this program called industrial training, which is essentially just internship at a place that will allow you to essentially sharpen your skills that you learn in college. My skills just happen to be in English, so we had to find a place that would allow you to speak in English. That's one of the prerequisites. That's one of the prerequisites. I have to use English to be able to oh, okay, I can use the language, and I could use it in a professional setting. And there's going to be a minor plot twist to what happened here, so buckle up. So after months and months of trying to find, you know, the right place to go for an internship, I eventually settled on this, newspaper company. I don't want to mention the name of the company because you know how sometimes it got really, really litigious. So I went there with a friend of mine who just happened to have a taxi cab business. So I asked him for some favors, like can you send me to this place, man? I really needed your help, that kind of stuff. Like, can I ask um for some discount, man? For because we're mates, remember? Yeah, I put all sort of stuff to make sure that I don't pay I don't pay half as much as I usually have to pay because my college is located in Tanjung Malim, which is about oh damn, sorry about that, which is about 82 kilometers away from the big city. So usually taxi cabs would charge you 300 ringgit back and forth if you're lucky. I managed to convince my friend to take up 150 back and forth, and yeah, I got 50% discount on that kick. Now, the interviewing session itself is kind of uneventful. Yeah, there were literally five of us there, and the interviewing session itself you know, is relatively short, all things considered. It's just that you have to wait your turn. And some candidates took way longer than others. And when it eventually came to my turn, I'm essentially the third person being called there. And let's face it, being interviewed all alone without barely any experiences of having to be interviewed or even finding a job prior to this is a rather scary prospect. It's really scary when you think about it. Anything you say and do can and will be used against you, and essentially you have to give a good first impression for them to even consider you worthy of being in their in their internship. And yeah, all things considered, I think I gave a pretty good impression. And after all is said and done, I arrived at that place at 1 p.m. just prior to, you know, just prior to lunch break. And my interview session is over and it's 6 p.m., which is, nighttime. And, I immediately was like, I think I got accepted into this, but I don't want to risk anything. I'm going to wait for a few minutes longer. So I called my friends and I thought, okay, I told them exactly my thought process. I think I'm accepted into this, but, you know, just in case I want to stay a little bit longer. And if you're hungry, you can just tell me where you are, you know, and I'll try and follow suit. Um, I ended up leaving the place at around 7 in the afternoon, sorry, 7 in the evening. Yeah. So yeah, sometimes I do wonder how I managed to pass high school with how many times I get my words mixed up. But anyway, it's 7 in the evening. I finally confirmed with them that there's no more like a follow up interview session or anything like that. So I decided to leave, and my friend gave me like a coordinate of where he is, and it's 2 blocks away the from where the interview took place. I thought, oh, should prove to be no problem. Except that in order for me to get to that Indian restaurant that I'm talking about, I had to go through this this scary, scary derelict looking neighborhood. Like, wow, I must be like in an alternate dimension where nobody was around. It's getting dark, and the clouds are glowing a glorious orange, and the wind is picking up speed. I went past this barren wasteland of a neighborhood. I don't think calling it a neighborhood would be accurate. A more apt description of that place would be a ghost town. That's a more apt description of it. Like, there's this weird disconnect between just how much houses were there in the area, but how much of them were genuinely like dark, like no electricity whatsoever, except for a tiny flicker of a house, like 30 degrees west from where I'm currently standing. Well, from where I'm currently standing at the time. Only one spot had lights, and I am 100% convinced that that is a sham town because my god, that town gave me all kinds of heebie-jeebies. Like, nobody is around. There are no traces of children walking about. Usually in a neighborhood, you still get to see children like mucking about you know and going to the front of the house to pet their cats or whatever. And essentially just the noise of families like coming together for dinner and calling the children's name to go to the table and have some food or anything like that. Anything resembling life. And it had none of it, except for this one bungalow that had the light. Needless to say, I'm starting to get a bit restless because this is a part of the town, this is a part of a neighborhood in a part of the city that I've never been a part of, that I am not familiar with, and now I'm like, where am I? What is this? What is this place? And all of a sudden, two little droplets of water starts to hit me. Two little droplets, and then five, and then seven, and then 10, and then next thing I know, I'm in the middle of a freaking deluge. Oh my god! It rained cats and dogs. It the wind. is particularly ferocious that night. I remember in one instance that the wind was so strong it was able to topple um, some really derelict trees to the point where I could see the roots like coming straight out of the ground. It was insane. It was intense. And then of course there's thunder, there's lightning, there's mm, I genuinely thought for a brief moment that I'm in the middle of a minor apocalypse. that's that's how intense things get all of a sudden. And then out of nowhere I heard the faint sound of a church bell going in the distance. Like no joke. Like the tang tang and against the bitter angel of my being, I I start running towards the sound of the bell. And I don't know how close I was or how far I was. It's just that what I know is that 3 minutes later I reached the front of the church, and the only reason why I went there is because I just need shelter. I just need shelter. And this, I don't know what I should call this, but this priestess, I think, this priestess came about from the corner, and I don't think it's a priestess, I think it's a nun. Yeah. So there's this nun, you know, trying to make it into the freaking church, and her robes were literally flowing in the wind. That's She looks like she could pass for like a superhero with the way the wind was going. She would look utterly angelic and ethereal, but also I felt like I'm being attracted to this uncanny looking things, something that almost resembled humans but not. And if this thought suddenly flashes into my head. If I followed this lady and if I took shelter in this church, would I still be would I still be alive? Would I make it? Would I be just another missing persons case that never went solved, or it's just going to be like a cold case where they indeed found my body, but then they don't know what exactly I died from. You know? But it is raining and I'm getting really wet, and getting some shelter is also becoming more and more of a concern for me. So, against the better angel of my soul, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna take shelter, and it just and for a brief moment in time, I literally thought the rain isn't gonna stop, and I'm probably gonna die here. So I started making amends with myself and began thinking, okay, what exactly have I done in my short life that would warrant me to be happy of who I am now. And I realized that I don't have much to be happy about. You know, I don't have much to be happy about. I don't have much to be angry about either. It's just I lived a plain life, and I'm not sure if that's what I wanted, for my being. Yeah. If I'm gonna die, just God, please just let me die in a blaze of glory, because I have a feeling this is where killers, you know, muck around, and this is where my time comes, and I'm I'm just gonna accept my death if death ended up greeting me. I don't care anymore. And I after an hour in the rain, I made it into the church, and I'm surrounded by nothingness. Nothing. Like, there's nobody there. Um, there's nobody there. The church is draped in shadow. Barely any light in there. You know, it looked like a generic, uh, scary church interior in a horror movie. That's exactly what it looked like. And I took refuge in there, and I just kept listening to the hymn. Kept listening to the hymn and everything of that ilk. And then after a while, I started noticing the that the rain had finally stopped. I went outside, and yeah, there were definitely traces of like a minor apocalypse, setting off in that town. And it just so happened that I haven't heard any sort of missed calls from my friend. So I checked my phone, and of course, there are six different missed calls going about in my phone, and I just received another call from my friend who said, "Dude, are you okay? Are you mm, are you wet or anything of that ilk?" And I was like, "I'm fine. Can you meet me at this church that I'm currently in?" And my friend was like, "Sure." And he's familiar enough to be in that part of town. It's just that, I took so long to finish my interview that he wanted to get like a quick bite, and just and so he just sent me the coordinates to the restaurant there. So I waited for him, and there he is, in his car, and he greeted me with, "Okay, hi, how you doing? Um, wow, the rain was crazy here, huh?" We made some tiny little quips and all that jazz. As- And then he made me go into his car and all that kind of stuff. He is familiar with that place, so I started asking a question like, "Are you familiar with this neighborhood? Because this place gave me the heebie-jeebies." And he replied to that question in the most blasé way possible. It was like, "Yeah, I always felt a bit uneasy going here. It felt like I'm entering a nether world or something like to that extent." So that was the first time that I felt existential dread. The feeling that, okay, maybe the world is much bigger than I think it is. You know, maybe, you know, this world that we're living in is not a safe place after all, and we need to give due diligence to our whereabouts, because because your loved ones aren't always going to be there to save you. You know, you're never alone, but you're always on your own. That sort of mentality. So yeah, that's the story of how I felt, dealing with the big world for the first time. It sounded the most anticlimactic. It sounded like the most anticlimactic story I ever told. But you know, I could lie and say something interesting happened there. Like, oh, you know, I met this chainsaw wielding psychopath that wants to go about and killing people. That kind of stuff. But no, it's just that it's raining. I don't know where I am, and then of course this creepy little neighborhood, propped up in front of me. I'm trying my best to keep my cool. So one, I don't offend anybody there, but there's nobody there. It felt like I entered a fever dream almost. So that's how. And then if something were had to happen to me there, nobody's gonna know it. Not even my friend who took me there. So yeah, that ended up putting the Rosetta Stone into. Oh, okay. Now I'm an existentialist. Now the biggest plot twist that was that I didn't end up going through with the internship, because it turns out that the first of all, I'm going through some very heavy sort of financial situation, or rather, my family is going through a pretty heavy financial situation, and on top of that, it turns out that the study program had changed significantly from the time that they started doing it. So there are now two elective courses that became m- mandatory courses to attend, and I had to go ahead and take up those courses, otherwise I will not be able to graduate. And I had to wait half a year um, to finally finish all my obligations, on top of being able to work for, on top of being able to finally finish this godforsaken little um, internship that, you know, it just doesn't end up working out for me the first time. So, yeah. I know you were anticipating like a plot twist, like, oh, I found my girlfriend there or anything. No, 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 no. Yeah, it's just bureaucracy breeds, kind of confusing bullshit. I hope that you can see whatever the hell I'm doing here. Sometimes I do wonder, in um, the almost decade-long pursuit of knowledge that I'm currently going through right now, did I actually became like an interesting person, how can I how can I convince people that I'm far more interesting than I actually am? You know, because I see some of my course mates living much more interesting lives than I ever did. That doesn't mean that I didn't go through, anything. It's just that compared to some of my course mates, I must have been like the blandest saltine the blandest saltine cracker looking prick to ever live on planet Earth. And the only thing that made people remotely interesting and remotely interested in me, and the one thing that made me the least bit interesting is, my ability to draw. I hadn't, I don't know, I don't know what exactly my calling is in life. Am I just doomed to be dull? Or is there something that's going to happen in my life that would make me unintentionally interesting? Yeah, this is the musings of a completely and utterly boring man. Yeah, I'm, I'm far less interesting than I appear to be. Hopefully, you guys are still around with me. But this is one of the main reasons why I think I need to learn how to edit. If I learn how to edit, I could write a script and turn my stories into something a little bit more interesting. Instead, my channel is far too boring to listen to it to listen to on my merit, and the audio quality isn't good enough to be considered ASMR. It's Gillian Gilbert right there, love. So instead of boring you people with this endless footage of me shading this big part of the drawings, I will instead give you little interesting tidbits about Gillian Gilbert that I find really utterly interesting. So initially in New Order there are four of them. There's Gillian, the keyboardist, Stephen Morris, the drummer, Peter Hook, the bassist, and Bernard Sumner. He's the lead vocalist. He's also one of the principal songwriters. He manages the group and all that kind of stuff. And there's this interview that was held in 1986, wherein they discussed some inner, you know, friction going on between the New Order members and, of course, between Barney and essentially the article sort of made it out to be, you know, New Order versus Barney Sumner, with allegations talking about how Burnett Sumner refuses to do any sort of like dancing because refuses to do any sort of performance because he felt tired and haggard and he just felt under the weather. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just hearsay reported by, you know, very news hungry tabloids, but it also sounds like it's not far off the truth either. There were multiple instances where they were interviewed and said, you know what, I don't think New Order can go on any longer. You know, we're gonna do our own thing and we're going to create our own little side projects, you know, in the meantime because we just couldn't stand each other anymore. And one of the side projects that ended up being sprouted from this was the other two. And one thing you must understand about the other two was that it's a band that was spearheaded by Gillian and her husband, Stephen Morris. Stephen is the drummer of the band. Stephen is the drummer of New Order, and he also serves as the percussionist for this duo that they created called The Other Two. And Gillian Gilbert is the one that's in charge of all of the vocals, and you know they both also dabbled to songwriting and producing the tracks themselves. That track is genuine. That album is genuinely interesting to listen to because you know there's this almost like, oh my god, we actually get to do our thing now. Okay, it's not New Order, and I don't think you should expect it to sound anything like New Order, but you know, we get to do our stuff. We get to strut our stuffs and everything. I don't expect this to be like a massive hit or anything, but hey, we get to do our stuff. And after 2 years of being in development and being shelved when the production company ended up, you know, filing for bankruptcy, you know, the other two and you ended up being released in 1993. The initial single was actually released in 1991 and it's called Tasty Fish, which is weird to me because Tasty Fish doesn't sound like it belonged on the album. The album is all about like this almost corny celebration of like love and stuff like that. And with Tasty Fish, it's about you know the ins and outs of a relationship, but it's a kind of relationship that they were completely and utterly done with. you know, I don't think that song is really about marriage. With the rest of the album, it's all about like the minutiae and the beauty of being married and whatnot. Tasty Fish just sounds like, you know, them venting out the little frustrations that they faced with being in New Order and not necessarily getting all the credit that they deserve. It's just funny. It's one of the funnier instances of production woes that I've ever heard in my entire life. Also, Gillian is one hell of a salty, salty, salty woman. Oh man, oh man, the amount of shade that she threw during the promotional interviews for the album is just wow, fucking unreal. I remember she distinctly said something about the song "Selfish," and she's like, this song is dedicated to that special someone that I hated. She knew who she is. I don't need to name names, but if she happened to listen to it, she know who she is. So that gave me kind of like this impression in my head that Jillian is not somebody you want to piss off. She's so weirdly pissy. It's like, oh man, so weirdly pissy, and she's so quiet. She's so quiet and gentle in the way she talks that when she gave like zingers, virtually nobody heard about any of the zingers that she pulled. But anybody who's within earshot will take like at least 2 seconds to finally understand, okay, this is what she meant. And then you burst out laughing, and people will lose any context behind why you laugh in the first place. That's Jillian in a nutshell. My god, what a lady. I don't know if this is true, but I remember reading somewhere from a fan site, which isn't exactly the most accurate way of like gathering the news. But and also this is from 7 years ago, and as far as I know, the website doesn't exist anymore. But I remember reading that around 1994, 95, something like that, Jillian is busy taking care of her family with two daughters and one of them had like problems of the nerve that made it that if they don't treat it and don't get into therapy with, the one of the daughters just won't be able to walk. And around this time, I think also Jillian started showing like signs of having, breast cancer. Hence why she looks particularly plump and masculine now because because of the steroid use. And one of her former bandmates decided to come in and demanded her to loan her some money. So a thoroughly pissed off Jillian went and grabbed, 100 pounds from, you know, from somewhere in the house, look at and she proceeded to stare angrily at the person demanding the money, and she proceeded to throw that money to, the band member's face, and she ended up screaming, "You know what? That's all you're worth, you piece of shit. Get the fuck out of my house." So that ended up So yeah, I'm not sure if that's real or not. I like to think it's real because it's just so in character, you know? She really looks like somebody that's fun to be around with, but you also don't want to piss off. Speaking of New Order, I'm planning on drawing the rest of the guys. I'm planning to draw Barney. I'm planning to draw Steve Morris. I'm planning to draw Peter Cook. I'm planning to draw Phil Cunningham. Yeah, the keyword here being plan. I'm not sure how long I'm going to take to learn how to edit videos and stuff like that. Wow, this is almost over. I just realized it. Okay. Another interesting fact about Gillian Gilbert was that I I seem to remember watching a video wherein she interviewed this founder of the Hacienda nightclub that the members of New Order are, a part of and are co-owners, and they were trying to get, the founder to be like, dude, what happened to our finances? But because this is on television, they they decided, you know what, Jillian, you gotta go into the bathtub with the founder of your nightclub and drink champagne with him or whatever. They asked Gillian Gilbert to do that. It, it was insanity. It was insanity. And I can't help but laugh at how uncomfortable Jillian looks like in that video. She straight up in full dress, no less, you know, went into that bathtub and she ended up drinking champagne with the guy. Like, what the hell? Yeah, so that's one of the things that live rent free in my head. I can't seem to remember. I, I don't remember the title, but I do remember that the video does indeed exist. Yeah, it's on YouTube somewhere. I forgot the title of the video. But yeah, it's Gillian Gilbert interviewing one of the founders of Hacienda, and the whole intention was just to like bust him as the scammer that he is, and she ended up being in the bathtub in full dress, no less, and just looked dead inside as she deals with what seems to be this weird sociopath. It's weird. It's really weird. So yeah, this is Gillian Gilbert, guys. Looks wonderful. I better sign my name on this. What day is the day? What's the date? On the 18th of June. 18 6 23. Hi guys, so that's Gillian Gilbert. I'm going to post the completed photo on later on. But yeah, that's Gillian Gilbert. Um so with that we have three more drawings to complete. And yeah, that's about it. See you.